First contact. Commander Sarah Chen stared at the massive alien vessel through the International Space Station's observation window, her heart pounding against her ribs. The ship had appeared without warning, a gleaming obsidian structure that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built, stretching nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern. "Commander, they're hailing us again," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his communication station, his voice tight with tension. Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. As the highest-ranking officer currently aboard the IS, the weight of humanity's first contact rested squarely on her shoulders. "Put them through." The holder screen flickered to life, revealing a being that made Sarah's breath catch. The alien appeared remarkably humanoid, but with subtle differences that marked them as distinctly non-human. Iridescent scales covered their exposed skin, shifting colors like oil on water. Their eyes were completely black, seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. "I am High Admiral Cathara of the Galactic Confederation," the being spoke, their words automatically translated by some unknown technology. "We have been monitoring your species for some time. Recent developments have forced us to accelerate our timeline for contact." Sarah maintained her composure, years of military training kicking in. "I am Commander Sarah Chen of the International Space Station. We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization." Kara's expression shifted in a way Sarah couldn't quite interpret. "Peace is precisely why we are here, Commander. Your species possesses something unique in the galaxy, something that could prevent an impending catastrophe." "And what might that be?" Sarah asked, though a creeping sensation in her gut told her she already knew the answer. "Your adaptive genetic structure," Kara replied. "Humans have evolved at an unprecedented rate, developing resistances and adaptations that should have taken millions of years in mere thousands. We need this capability. Without it, the Confederation faces extinction." Sarah's mind raced. As a former geneticist before joining the space program, she understood the implications. "You're talking about some kind of disease." "A biological weapon deployed by our enemies, the Wraith Collective. It adapts faster than we can develop countermeasures. Our scientists project total civilization collapse within 5 years unless we find a solution." Cathara's voice carried the weight of billions of lives. "And you believe human DNA holds the key?" "We know it does. We've been studying your species since your first nuclear tests alerted us to your technological advancement. Your ability to survive and adapt to rapidly changing conditions is unparalleled." Sarah felt the gravity of the moment pressing down on her. "What exactly are you proposing?" "We seek volunteers, your best geneticists, doctors, and researchers. We offer an exchange of knowledge and technology that would advance your civilization by centuries. But time is critical." Before Sarah could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Lieutenant Rodriguez's fingers flew across his console. "Commander." Multiple new contacts appearing. Energy signatures don't match the Confederation vessel. Cathara's expression turned grave. "The Wraith have followed us. Commander Chen, you must make a decision now. If the Wraith reach Earth first, they will not offer cooperation. They will take what they want by force." Through the observation window, Sarah watched as dark, angular ships emerge from what appeared to be tiers in space itself. They moved with an unsettling organic quality, like predators stalking prey. "How many people do you need?" Sarah asked, her decision already made. "Initially, just one. Someone who understands both genetics and leadership. Someone who can serve as a bridge between our peoples." Cathara's black eyes seemed to peer into her soul. "Someone like you, Commander Chen." Sarah looked at her crew, the 12 men and women who represented the best of humanity's space program. They all watched her, waiting for her decision. The fate of not one but 2 civilizations could hinge on what she did next. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, send an emergency transmission to Earth. Tell them," she paused, choosing her words carefully. "Tell them first contact has been made, and that I've accepted a diplomatic assignment to prevent interstellar war. She turned back to Cathara. I have conditions. Name them. Earth remains protected while I work with your scientists. No forced conscription of other humans. And everything we develop to fight this plague gets shared with Earth. We're just as vulnerable as you are. Cathara's scales shifted to a deep blue. Agreed. Prepare for emergency transport. The Wraith will be in weapons range in 3 minutes. Sarah quickly grabbed her tablet and emergency kit. Rodriguez, you're in command. Get everyone to the escape pods if those ships get any closer. Don't try to fight them. As golden light began to envelop her, Sarah watched the Wraith ships approaching. She had no way of knowing if she'd made the right choice, but she knew she'd made the only choice she could live with. In a flash of light, she vanished from the ISS, leaving Earth behind to face whatever fate awaited her among the stars. The last thing she heard was Cathara's voice. Welcome to the war for survival, Commander Chen. Let us hope your species is as remarkable as we believe it to be. Evolution's edge. The Confederation flagship's laboratory put every facility on Earth to shame. Sarah stood surrounded by holographic DNA strands that floated in the air like luminous serpents, each one representing a different species' genetic code. Her own DNA rotated slowly in the center, highlighted in gold against the cool blue of alien genetics. Fascinating, isn't it? Dr. Lix materialized beside her, the chief geneticist's chromatophoric skin rippling with patterns of scholarly excitement. Unlike Admiral Cathara's scaled appearance, Lix's species resembled a hybrid between humans and cephalopods, their skin constantly shifting with their emotions. Your genetic structure contains redundancies we've never seen before, multiple backup systems for critical functions. It's as if your species evolved expecting disaster. Sarah manipulated the hologram, zooming in on a particular sequence. Earth's history is written in catastrophes, mass extinctions, climate shifts, near misses with cosmic disasters. Each time, life adapted and survived. Which is precisely why the Wraith want to eliminate humanity before we can help us. A new voice interjected. Admiral Cathara entered the lab, their scales now a deep crimson, a warning sign Sarah had learned to recognize. We've intercepted communications. They're mobilizing a fleet. Toward Earth. Sarah's heart clenched. No, toward their weapon development facility. They're accelerating their timeline. We believe they're preparing to release an enhanced version of the plague. Sarah's fingers flew across the holographic interface, pulling up data from her preliminary research. Show me the latest infection patterns. A galaxy map materialized, showing spreading zones of red that represented plague outbreaks. The pattern wasn't random. It formed a spiral, like a noose slowly tightening around Confederation space. Wait. Sarah enhanced a section of the map. These infection vectors, they're not natural. Even an engineered virus wouldn't spread with this level of precision. The Wraith aren't just releasing it, they're steering it somehow. Lix's skin darkened to a deep purple of concern. Impossible. Even with their biotechnology, they couldn't maintain that level of control across interstellar distances. Unless... Sarah's mind raced, connecting dots. Unless the virus itself isn't the weapon, it's the delivery system. What if a plague is just a carrier for something else? Something that needs to be distributed in a specific pattern. Farah moved closer to the map, their scales shifting to a contemplative green. A carrier for what? I need to see the virus's complete genetic sequence, Sarah demanded. Not just the parts that cause infection, everything. Lix hesitated. That data is restricted. The viral structure is incredibly complex, with sections we still don't understand. Show her, Cathara ordered. Commander Chen has proven herself trustworthy. The hologram shifted, displaying an impossibly intricate genetic structure that made Sarah's breath catch. This isn't just a virus. It's a programmable machine at the genetic level. Look at these sequences. They're not coding for proteins, they're... She paused, horror dawning. Their coordinates. Coordinates. Lix's skin rippled with confusion. The Wraith aren't trying to kill your people. They're trying to map them. Every infection creates a quantum entanglement between the host's genetic material and something else. Something at the center of this spiral pattern they're creating. Cathara's scales turned ash gray, a genetic beacon. They're creating a targeting system. For what? Lix asked. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The holographic displays flickered and died as power fluctuated. Multiple Wraith vessels emerging from null space. A voice announced over the intercom. They've tracked us. The ship shuddered under sudden impact. Sarah grabbed a console to steady herself as emergency lights pulsed. We need to destroy this research, she said. If they capture it. Too late, Cathara growled, pointing to the lab's entrance where dark, writhing shapes were already seeping through the sealed door, Wraith boarding parties. The shapes coalesced into humanoid figures, but wrong, like shadows given depth and substance. Their eyes glowed with an inner light that seemed to drink in the surrounding illumination. The human, one of them spoke, its voice like grinding glass. Our masters wish to discuss your theories about our work. Sarah backed away, looking frantically for an escape route. Cathara stepped between her and the Wraith, scales blazing battle red. She is under Confederation protection, the Admiral declared, drawing a weapon that hummed with barely contained energy. The Wraith seemed to smile, though their faces weren't designed for the expression. The Confederation's protection means little now. The beacon is almost ready. Soon, your entire species will be rewritten at the genetic level. We simply thought to offer the human a chance to witness history's greatest evolution. You mean genocide, Sarah spat. You're not evolving anyone. You're trying to overwrite their genetic code with your own. Perceptive, the Wraith acknowledged, but incorrect in one detail. We're not overwriting them with our code. Its glowing eyes fixed on Sarah. We're overwriting them with yours. Humanity's adaptability, twisted to serve our purposes. And you're going to help us perfect the process. Sarah's mind raced. The Wraith hadn't tracked them by chance. They'd waited until she figured out their plan. She was never supposed to help the Confederation find a cure. She was supposed to help the Wraith perfect their weapon. As the shadow creatures advanced, Sarah made a decision. She grabbed a vial of experimental retrovirus from the lab bench and smashed it at her feet. If you want human DNA, she snarled, come and get it. The last thing she saw before chaos erupted was Cathara's scales, shifting to a color she'd never seen before, the color of hope. Chain reaction. The experimental retrovirus hit the floor, shattering into a fine mist that filled the laboratory. Sarah held her breath, praying her desperate gamble would work. The Wraith hesitated, their shadowy forms rippling with uncertainty as the viral particles danced in the emergency lighting. Containment breach. Lix's skin flashed warning patterns as the ship's automated systems kicked in, sealing the lab. What have you done? Sarah finally exhaled, watching the Wraith closely. Something impossible. I modified the virus you were studying. Added a little human unpredictability to the mix. The lead Wraith's glowing eyes narrowed. You cannot harm us with our own weapon. Watch me. Sarah smiled grimly. You wanted human adaptability. Well, you've got it. That virus isn't trying to infect you, it's trying to evolve you. The effect was almost immediate. The Wraith's shadowy forms began to flicker, like bad television reception. One of them staggered, its outline becoming less distinct. Impossible, the leader hissed, but there was fear in its crystalline voice now. Our genetic structure is locked, immutable. That's your weakness. Sarah moved closer to Cathara and Lix, never taking her eyes off the destabilizing Wraith. You engineered your cells to be perfect, unchanging. But life isn't about perfection, it's about adaptation, change, evolution. You forgot that, and now it's going to cost you. The Wraith were definitely struggling now, their forms shifting between solid and gaseous states. The leader raised what might have been an arm, but the limb dissolved into mist before it could strike. "Even if you destroy us," it growled, "the beacon will still activate. Our masters will still." "Your masters?" Cathara interrupted, scales pulsing with interest. "You're not the architects of this plan." The Wraith leader laughed, a sound like shattering glass. "We are merely the harbingers, the true master's heir." Its face contorted in sudden pain. "No, the changes, spreading too fast." Sarah watched in fascination as a modified virus did its work. The Wraith weren't dying, they were transforming. Their shadowy bodies began to solidify, taking on more defined shapes. Colors appeared in their previously monochrome forms. "Fascinating," Lix whispered, their skin rippling with scientific excitement. "The virus isn't destroying them, it's forcing them to evolve, to become something else." The transformation accelerated. Where there had been 6 shadow creatures, there were now 6 humanoid figures, still dark-skinned, but now clearly solid, with distinct features and shocked expressions. They looked almost human, but with an ethereal quality that spoke of their otherworldly origin. The former leader fell to its knees, staring at hands that were now flesh and blood, rather than living shadow. What are we?" "You're what you were always meant to be," Sarah explained, her voice gentler now. "The virus unlocked your suppressed genetic potential. You were never meant to be living weapons. Someone engineered you to be that way. Locked your evolution, turned you into tools." Farah moved forward, scales shifting to a diplomatic blue. "Who are your masters? Who did this to you?" The transformed Wraith looked at each other, their newly formed faces showing confusion and fear. "The architects," one of them finally said. "They found us, changed us, made us forget what we were before. But now," he looked at his hands again, "now we remember." Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently. Emergency alerts blared throughout the vessel. "Admiral," a voice called over the intercom. "Multiple vessels emerging from null space. But they're not Wraith ships. The design is completely unknown." Sarah's blood ran cold. The architects. The former Wraith leader stood, still unsteady in its new form. "They know what you've done. They'll destroy this ship, eliminate all evidence of the transformation. You don't understand their power." "Then help us understand," Sarah urged. "Help us fight them. You're free now. You can choose your own path." Before anyone could respond, a new presence filled the room, a hologram of impossible complexity, showing a being that defied description. It seemed to shift between geometric patterns and organic forms, never settling on a single shape. "Clever little humans," the being spoke, its voice resonating at a frequency that made Sarah's teeth ache. "Always interfering with forces beyond their comprehension. Did you think we wouldn't have contingencies for this?" The transformed Wraith cried out in pain, clutching their heads. "No," their leader gasped. "The neural implants, they're still." "You belong to us," the architect declared. "You all do. The beacon is ready. The great transformation approaches. And this human," the shifting pattern focused on Sarah, "this human will help us perfect it, willing or not." Sarah felt something probe at her mind, an alien presence trying to force its way in. She gritted her teeth, fighting against it. "You want human adaptability," she growled. "Try adapting to this." She pulled out her tablet, fingers flying across the screen. "What are you doing?" Cathara demanded. "Converting the ship's engines to emit a quantum pulse at a very specific frequency." Sarah's head felt like it was about to split open, but she kept typing. If these architects can maintain control across interstellar distances, they must use quantum entanglement, and quantum entanglement can be disrupted. The architect's form flickered. "You cannot. Watch me." Sarah hit the final command. The ship's engines screamed as they were pushed beyond their limits. A wave of invisible energy pulsed outward, and the architect's hologram shattered like glass. The transformed Wraith gasped in unison as their neural implants went dark. On the main display, they watched as the unknown vessels surrounding them suddenly lost power, drifting helplessly in space. "Well," Sarah said into the stunned silence that followed, "I guess that worked." Kthara's scales had turned a color she'd never seen before, a swirling mix of amazement and respect. You just severed a quantum network that spanned the galaxy, without fully understanding the technology involved. Sarah shrugged, but her head was still pounding. Sometimes, not knowing something is impossible is the best way to make it possible. She turned to the transformed Wraith. "You're truly free now. The question is, what will you do with that freedom?" Their leader looked at her with newly formed eyes that held both gratitude and determination. "We help you stop them. The Architect's beacon is still out there, still waiting to be activated. And now we remember what it truly does." "What does it do?" Lix asked, their skin dark with concern. "It doesn't just rewrite genetics," the former Wraith explained. "It rewrites reality itself, and if it activates," he looked at Sarah, "then what happened to us will seem merciful in comparison." Sarah nodded grimly, already formulating plans. "Then we better make sure that doesn't happen. Kithara, set course for the center of that spiral pattern. It's time we took the fight to them." As the ship's engines hummed back to life, Sarah looked at their unlikely alliance: Confederation, transformed Wraith, and one human scientist, and felt something she hadn't expected: hope. The Architects might have power beyond comprehension, but they'd forgotten one crucial thing. The most powerful force in the universe wasn't control, it was change. And humanity was change incarnate. The Architect's shadow. The journey to the center of the spiral pattern was tense. Sarah stood on the flagship's bridge, watching stars streak by as they traveled through null space. The transformed Wraith, who now called themselves the Reborn, worked alongside the Confederation crew, sharing everything they could remember about their former masters. "The Architects existed before time as we know it," explained Varric, the former Wraith leader who had become their primary liaison. His new form had stabilized into something hauntingly beautiful obsidian skin that seemed to catch his starlight, with eyes that held ancient memories slowly returning. "They don't just manipulate genetics, they manipulate the fundamental forces of reality." "That's impossible," Lix protested, their skin rippling with skepticism. "Even the most advanced civilizations can't alter the basic laws of physics." "Unless," Sarah interjected, "those laws aren't as immutable as we think." She pulled up a holographic display of her latest calculations. "What if the Architects aren't breaking the laws of physics? What if they're exploiting a LUFO?" Kthara moved closer, scales shifting thoughtfully. "Explain." "Quantum mechanics tells us that reality is flexible at the smallest scales. Particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed. What if the Architects found a way to extend that quantum uncertainty to a macro scale?" Sarah manipulated the display, showing complex equations. "Their beacon isn't just a genetic rewriting tool, it's a reality rewriting tool." Using living beings as quantum observers, Varric added, his new face showing understanding. "That's why they needed to infect so many people in such a specific pattern. Each infected person becomes part of a vast quantum computer designed to observe, and therefore collapse, reality into the state the Architects desire." Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Multiple hull breaches. A technician shouted, "Something's eating through the outer plating." Sarah rushed to a nearby viewport and felt her blood freeze. The ship's hull was dissolving, but not in any way that made sense. The metal wasn't melting or corroding, it was simply unmaking itself, the atoms losing cohesion as if they'd forgotten how to hold together. "They found us," Varric said grimly. "The Architects are unraveling the ship's quantum structure." "Can we stabilize it?" Kthara demanded, scales flashing urgent patterns. Sarah's mind raced. "The retrovirus, the one I modified, it forced quantum coherence in the Wraith, made them collapse into stable forms. If we could adapt it, make it work on inorganic matter. Impossible. Lick's skin had gone almost white with fear. The virus only works on living tissue. Then we make the ship live. Sarah's words caused everyone to stare at her. We've been thinking too small. The architects manipulate reality by manipulating the observers, so let's give them an observer they can't control. She ran to the nearest console, fingers flying across the interface. Lix, I need you to help me modify the virus. Kefara, divert all power to the ship's quantum shields. We need to buy time. Varric, I need everything you know about how the architects perceive reality. They worked frantically as the ship continued to unravel around them. Sarah's modified virus would either save them or kill them all, but they were dead anyway if they did nothing. The hull breach had reached the inner corridors, and crew members reported seeing impossible things in the dissolving sections. Spaces that went on forever, rooms that contained entire universes, corridors that looped back on themselves in ways that violated geometry. Ready, Sarah announced, her hand hovering over the release control. This is going to seem very strange to everyone. Whatever you do, don't fight it. Let the changes happen. She activated the release. The virus flooded through the ship's ventilation system, but this version didn't just affect living tissue. It affected everything it touched, creating impossible hybrid forms of organic and inorganic matter. The ship's walls began to pulse like living tissue. Control panels merged with their operators, creating symbiotic interfaces. The entire vessel began to transform into something that wasn't quite machine and wasn't quite alive, but somehow both. What's happening? Kefara asked, watching as their scales began to shimmer with the same metallic quality as the ship's hull. We're making the ship part of us, Sarah explained, feeling the changes herself as her nervous system began to interface directly with the ship's systems. And us part of the ship. We're becoming a single quantum observer, too complex for the architects to unravel. The transformation spread throughout the vessel. Every crew member, every piece of technology, every molecule of air became part of a vast, living consciousness. Sarah felt her awareness expand as she connected with everyone and everything aboard. She could feel Kefara's strategic mind, Lick's scientific curiosity, Varric's ancient memories, all becoming part of a greater whole. Through their shared consciousness, they watched as the architect's attack failed to find purchase. The ship, now a living entity, maintained its quantum coherence through sheer complexity of observation. Billions of interconnected minds created a reality too stable to unravel. Fascinating, the architect's voice echoed through their shared mind. You've created something new, something unexpected, but do you really think this will save you? Sarah felt everyone's fear, but also their determination. Through their combined consciousness, she projected her thoughts. We don't need to be saved. We need to end this. Your time is over. Reality doesn't belong to you anymore. Reality belongs to those with the power to shape it, the architects responded. And we have had eons to perfect that power. Then maybe that's your weakness. Sarah guided their shared consciousness, directing the ship's sensors toward the center of the spiral pattern. You've had so long to perfect your vision of reality that you've forgotten how to adapt. But with something new, something that can change. The ship, their unified self, accelerated toward its target. The architects launched attack after attack, trying to unmake them, to unravel their impossible existence. But they held together, adapting, changing, becoming something more with each assault. They were no longer just a crew trying to save civilization. They were evolution itself, change given form and purpose. And they were headed straight for the heart of the architect's power. As they approached their destination, Sarah felt a truth emerge from their collective consciousness. The real war wasn't just for survival. It was for the right to change, to grow, to become something more than what they were created to be. And that was a war humanity had been fighting since it first looked up at the stars and dreamed of reaching them. Reality's edge. The center of the spiral pattern wasn't a place. It was an absence. a void in space where reality itself seemed to thin, like fabric worn threadbare by time. Through their unified consciousness, the living ship and its crew consciousness approached this impossible boundary. What we're seeing isn't emptiness. Sarah's thoughts rippled through their shared awareness. It's potential, raw, unformed reality. The knowledge came from Varric's recovered memories, flowing through their collective mind. The architects hadn't just built their beacon here. They'd chosen this location because it was a weak point in the universe's fabric, a place where the laws of physics were more suggestion than rule. The hybrid vessel shuddered as they crossed the boundary. The void bloomed around them, revealing itself as a vast structure that defied comprehension. Geometric shapes folded through impossible dimensions, creating patterns that hurt to observe. At its heart, a massive crystalline formation pulsed with energy, the beacon. Fascinating. The architect's voice resonated through reality itself. The crew consciousness watched as multiple beings emerged from the geometry, entities that seemed to be made of pure mathematics, their forms constantly shifting between different fundamental forces. You have evolved beyond our PREDCTIONS. Become something new, but ATCANG is nothing. Sarah felt their collective fear as the beacon's pulse intensified. Through their shared awareness, she could see what was happening. Quantum waves rippling outward, touching every infected person in the galaxy, preparing to collapse reality itself into the architect's desired configuration. Why? Sarah projected their collective question. Why reshape all of reality? You already have such power. NTROPE, the architects responded. Their heat death of the universe AP proobstetes. We seek to REWIT PE FEFANANDAMEM entail TONSTNTS. Create a reality DATYL and OTDI. Understanding flooded through their shared consciousness. The architects weren't evil. They were afraid. Afraid of the ultimate death of everything they built, everything they were. Their grand plan was an act of preservation. But you're going about it wrong, Sarah communicated, drawing on their collective knowledge. You can't just overwrite reality. The universe isn't a program you can debug. It's alive. It evolves. Evolution is inefficient, chaotic. We bring order. Order is death, Sarah projected, feeling the agreement of their collective consciousness. Life thrives on the edge of chaos. That's what you never understood. That's why you need human DNA, not because it's perfect, but because it's imperfect, adaptable. The hybrid ship moved closer to the beacon, their unified mind formulating a plan. They couldn't stop the quantum wave. It was already building, reality already beginning to shift, but maybe they could change its nature. Lix, Sarah thought, the virus. If we modify it again, make it target the beacon itself. Understanding flowed through their collective. The virus that had transformed the Wraith, that had made their ship alive, it could transform the beacon too. Not destroy it, but change it, make it evolve. They acted as one. The ship's organic components began producing the modified virus, while its technological systems calculated the perfect delivery method. The architects, sensing their intent, launched an assault that bent space itself, trying to tear their hybrid form apart. But they were ready. Their unified consciousness split its attention, each part handling a different aspect of survival. Some focused on maintaining their quantum coherence against the architect's reality-warping attacks. Others worked on synthesizing the virus. Still others calculated the precise moment to strike. You cannot stop what he is already in motion, the architects warned. The wavy bills. Reality will be REWRHTN. We're not trying to stop it. Sarah's thoughts merged with the collective. We're trying to change it. The beacon's pulse reached critical levels. The quantum wave began to spread, touching every infected being in the galaxy. Reality trembled, preparing to reshape itself according to the architect's design. At that exact moment, they struck. The virus, modified by their collective intelligence, infused with the adaptability of human DNA and the quantum stability they'd achieved, shot directly into the beacon's crystalline heart. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the beacon changed. Its rigid crystalline structure began to flow like liquid, colors shifting through impossible spectrums. The quantum wave it generated transformed, becoming something new, not a harsh rewrite of reality, but a gentle evolution. "What have you done?" The architect's voice held something they'd never expressed before: uncertainty. Through their shared consciousness, they watched as the wave spread, but instead of overwriting reality, it enhanced it. Each person it touched remained themselves, but gained something new: the ability to perceive and interact with quantum reality itself. The rigid separation between observer and observed began to blur. "We've given the universe what it really needed," Sarah explained through their collective voice. "Not a new set of laws, but the ability to adapt, to evolve, to face entropy not by running from it, but by changing with it." The architect's forms flickered as the wave reached them too. For beings who had existed since the universe's dawn, the concept of change was terrifying. But as the transformation took hold, their mathematical forms began to shift, becoming something more organic, more alive. This is not order," one of them said, their voice now holding traces of emotion. "No," Sarah agreed, "it's life. And life is messy and complicated and beautiful exactly as it can change." The hybrid ship hung in the void, watching as reality itself began to evolve. Not ending, not being overwritten, but growing into something new. Something that brought together the best of both order and chaos, structure and change. The war wasn't over. The universe was too vast, the implications of what they'd done too far-reaching for any simple resolution. But they had done what humanity did best. They had adapted, evolved, and in doing so, they had changed the very nature of the game itself. Through their collective consciousness, they felt the first stirrings of a new kind of reality, one where change was not the enemy, but the key to survival. And in that moment, they understood that this wasn't just a victory for humanity or the Confederation or even the transformed Wraith. It was a victory for life itself. New dawn. The return journey to Earth felt different. Their hybrid ship, still a unified consciousness of crew and technology, traveled through space that seemed more alive than ever before. Reality rippled around them, quantum possibilities dancing at the edges of their enhanced perception. Sarah, while still connected to the collective consciousness, focused her awareness on their immediate surroundings. The transformed architects had joined them, their once rigid mathematical forms now flowing with organic grace. They were learning, adapting to their new state of existence, and their presence added depths of ancient knowledge to the ship's shared mind. "We are approaching Earth's solar system," Cathara's thoughts rippled through their consciousness. That admiral's tactical awareness highlighted potential challenges ahead. Through their enhanced senses, they could see that Earth had changed too. The quantum wave had reached humanity's homeworld, and the entire planet glowed with new potential. Cities sparkled with quantum energy, and human consciousness had begun to explore its expanded capabilities. "They're afraid," Sarah observed, feeling the collective anxiety of her species radiating through space. Everything they thought they knew about reality has changed. "As it should be," one of the transformed architects communicated. Their thoughts, once cold and mathematical, now carried warmth and curiosity. "Fear of change is natural. We forgot this, lost in our pursuit of perfect stasis." The ship decelerated as they entered the solar system. Earth's space defense platforms, now partially quantum-aware, tracked their approach. Sarah felt the tension in the collective consciousness rise. How would humanity react to their return? Broadcasting identification. Lick's thoughts merged with the ship's communications. Their message carried not just information, but the truth of their experiences encoded in quantum states that the enhanced humans below could now perceive. The response came quickly, not in words but in feelings: relief, curiosity, cautious optimism. Earth's defenders recognized them, understood what they had accomplished, and welcomed them home. As they entered orbit, Sarah felt their collective consciousness begin to shift. The bond that had held them together, necessary for their survival and victory, was changing. Not breaking, but evolving into something new. "It's time," she projected to their unified mind. "We need to show them that this change doesn't mean losing who we are. We can be both individual and connected." The process was gradual, delicate. One by one, crew members began to separate their consciousness from the collective, maintaining a quantum link but regaining their individual forms. The ship itself remained alive, but its awareness became more focused, more specialized. Sarah watched through still-connected senses as her body reformed from a hybrid matrix. The experience was strange but not uncomfortable, like waking from a dream while still remembering how to fly. Sarah's scales shimmered with new patterns as they regained physical form, now capable of expressing quantum states through their chromatophores. Lick's skin rippled with complex equations, their scientific understanding enhanced by their time in the collective. The transformed Wraith, led by Varric, emerged changed yet again. Their bodies now existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously, shifting between shadow and substance in ways that celebrated rather than feared their dual nature. The architects, those who had chosen to join them, took physical form for the first time in eons. Their bodies combined organic and geometric patterns, living mathematics made flesh. As the last connections settled into their new configuration, Sarah stood on shaky legs and looked out at her homeworld. Earth gleamed below them, familiar yet new, its quantum potential visible as layers of possibility. "What happens now?" Lix asked, their voice carrying harmonics that spoke directly to their quantum awareness. "Now we help them understand," Sarah replied. "Help them adapt to these changes without losing themselves." She turned to the transformed architects. "Will you help us?" "We will," they agreed, their voices resonating with newfound emotion. "We have much to learn about change, about evolution. Who better to teach us than humanity?" Cathara moved to the ship's quantum interface, their scales shifting through complex patterns. The Confederation worlds are reporting similar transformations. Some are embracing the change, others are struggling. They need guidance. "They need hope," Varric added, his form shifting slightly as he spoke. "Hope that change doesn't mean the end of who they are." Sarah nodded, feeling the quantum connections between them pulse with purpose. "Then let's give them that hope. Show them that evolution isn't about becoming something else, it's about becoming more of who you truly are." The ship's consciousness reached out, connecting them to the quantum network that now spanned the galaxy. Through it, they could feel countless beings wrestling with their new awareness, trying to understand what they had become. "We'll need to establish new protocols," Cathara said, "practical even in transformation. New ways of interaction, of governance, of existence itself." "No," Sarah corrected gently. "Not establish, grow. Let these new protocols evolve naturally, guided but not controlled. That's the lesson we learned, isn't it? The power isn't in forcing change or resisting it, but in shaping it through our choices." The quantum field around Earth pulsed with agreement. Below them, humanity was already adapting, innovating, finding new ways to use their enhanced awareness. Some were learning to communicate across quantum states, others were exploring the boundaries between possibility and reality. "The age of rigid forms is over," the transformed architects pronounced. "The age of evolution begins." Sarah smiled, feeling the quantum connections between them all pulse with life and possibility. The future was uncertain, filled with challenges they couldn't predict. But that uncertainty wasn't something to fear anymore, it was something to embrace. Because in that uncertainty lay infinite potential for growth, for change, for becoming something more than they ever imagined possible. And humanity, with its endless capacity for adaptation, would help lead the way. Not as conquerors or saviors, but as guides on a journey that would never truly end. Because evolution, they had learned, wasn't a destination, it was a process, an endless dance of becoming. And they were all, at last, ready to dance. Infinite horizons. 5 years after the quantum transformation, Sarah stood in her new laboratory at the Quantum Evolution Institute, watching humanity's latest breakthrough unfold. The holographic display showed not just data, but actual quantum potentials shifting and flowing like currents in a cosmic ocean. Remarkable, Varric observed, his form shifting between shadow and light as he studied the patterns. They've already learned to manipulate quantum states at a cellular level. Earth had changed profoundly since their return. Cities now existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously, their architecture adapting to the needs of their inhabitants moment by moment. Transportation had been revolutionized as humans learned to navigate through quantum spaces. Communication happened instantly across vast distances through entangled consciousness. But more importantly, humanity's spirit of exploration and innovation had flourished in this new reality. Ambassador Chen, a young researcher, appeared in the doorway, her quantum aura bright with excitement. "The Confederation Council is ready for your presentation." Sarah nodded, feeling the familiar pulse of the quantum network that connected her to both her old crew and new allies across the galaxy. Kithara, now Supreme Admiral of the expanded Confederation fleet, sent a wave of encouraging energy through their link. Lix, heading the Confederation's science division, added their own surge of scientific curiosity. The presentation chamber was a marvel of quantum engineering. Representatives from thousands of worlds attended, some physically present, others connecting through quantum projection. The transformed architects, now partners in exploration rather than masters of reality, observed with their new organic geometric forms. "Fellow sentients," Sarah began, her words carrying through both conventional and quantum channels. 5 years ago, we faced a choice between stagnation and change. We chose change, but more importantly, we chose to guide that change rather than be ruled by it. The quantum display behind her came to life, showing the progress of what they now call the Evolution Protocol, the guided development of quantum-enhanced life throughout the galaxy. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we've achieved something unprecedented. We've learned not just to exist in quantum states, but to consciously guide our own evolution while maintaining our essential selves. The display shifted, showing a new kind of quantum matrix, one that allowed beings to explore evolutionary possibilities without losing their core identity. It was the culmination of years of collaboration between human scientists, transformed wraith geneticists, and the architect's mathematical expertise. But this isn't just about biological evolution anymore, Sarah continued. It's about the evolution of consciousness, of society, of reality itself. We've discovered that the universe isn't a fixed set of laws to be mastered, but a living system that grows with us. She felt Varric's pride through their quantum link. The transformed wraith had become humanity's closest allies, their dual nature giving them unique insights into the quantum realm. Their civilization, once trapped in shadow, now helped light the way forward. We've also learned that power isn't about control. Sarah gestured to the transformed architects, who nodded in acknowledgement. True power lies in the ability to adapt, to grow, to become more without losing what makes us who we are. The chamber resonated with agreement. Species that had once been locked in conflict now worked together, sharing their unique perspectives and abilities. The quantum transformation hadn't erased their differences, it had made those differences into strengths. But our greatest discovery, Sarah's voice softened, carrying emotion through both sound and quantum resonance, is that we are all connected, not just through the quantum network, but through the very fabric of evolution itself. Each change, each adaptation, each step forward enriches not just the species taking it, but all of us. The display showed the current state of the galaxy, a vibrant web of quantum connections, each point of light representing a world or species growing, changing, evolving in its own unique way. Earth shone brightly among them, not as a leader, but as a catalyst for change. We stand at a new frontier, Sarah concluded, not a physical boundary to cross, but an infinite horizon of possibility. Every day brings new discoveries, new adaptations, new ways of being. And the beauty of it is that we don't have to fear losing ourselves to these changes. We can embrace them, guide them, grow through them. The chamber erupted in both physical and quantum applause. Through their shared consciousness, Sarah felt the approval of her old crew, Cathara's strategic satisfaction, Lix's scientific joy, Varric's deep understanding of transformation. As the presentation concluded, Sarah stepped out onto the quantum-enhanced observation deck. Earth spun below, its quantum layers shimmering with possibility. The hybrid ship that had carried them on their first journey now evolved into something even more extraordinary, orbited silently above. Thinking about where it all began, Cathara appeared beside her, their scales shifting through patterns that reflected quantum states. Thinking about where it's going, Sarah replied, "We've only scratched the surface of what's possible." "That's what makes it beautiful," Varric added, materializing from the quantum field, the endless potential for growth, for change, for becoming. A notification pulsed through their quantum awareness, another breakthrough, another discovery, another step forward on their infinite journey. Sarah smiled, feeling the familiar surge of excitement that came with new possibilities. The universe had changed, and they had changed with it, but they remained who they were, explorers, discoverers, dreamers. Only now their dreams could reshape reality itself. As she looked out at the quantum-enhanced stars, Sarah felt the truth that had guided them from the beginning. The greatest power wasn't in controlling change, but in growing through it. And humanity, with its endless capacity for adaptation, would always be at the forefront of that growth. Not because they were destined to lead, but because they would never stop asking what if, and what next, and what could be. The infinite horizon beckoned, and they were ready to explore it, together, forever evolving, forever becoming more than they were while remaining true to who they had always been. The next chapter of their journey was just beginning.